Good morning everybody, I'm Steve and this is Green Side Up. I've got a lot of changes to make over this winter period. There's a lot of work to do and it will be increasing my no-dig growing space and solving a couple of problems as well, and making things a little more accessible and things a little easier to manage for this size of plot. So I'm going to have a quick run around with the camera here, just to give you an idea of what's going on. So let's go and have a look. So down this side we have the 8 no-dig raised beds going all the way down to the bottom. The bed I'm actually stood on at present is exactly the same size as that area. So there's top 1, 2, 3 and then 4 where the spring onions are going to be reciprocated over in this area. Okay, so I'm stood next to the spring onions now, so there's 1, 2, 3 and 4 beds, and they are going to be reciprocated over here to here, down here. And this is where I had the potatoes this year. There'll be 4 symmetrical beds extra ready for spring next year. So that's the first of the changes in here. So over these container potatoes this year, over these posts, I had posts at the other end gone now, I mounted this up to try and support the potatoes as they grew. I've tried different methods over the years, so they were just spread out tight, very similar to simplified gardening's method of using the pig wire. And I'm going to be using something similar again next year, but they will be in another dedicated area where I've got another idea of how to do it better based on what I've learnt as well. So yeah, because as soon as I cut the holes to let the shoots grow through, and they grew through, and they were about 2 foot above the foliage, above the containers, 2 foot above the taller ones and 18 inches or so above the smaller ones. 2.5 foot above these smaller ones. And they worked for a time until they got so high and the wind caught them and they just knocked them over. And this stuff, because it's just plastic, just cut into them. So there needs to be a better way, and I have got an idea that I'm just sort of toying with, and as I say, it will be dual purpose, so it'll be 2 uses or even possibly 3. But anyway, that's for another area. We'll go over there now. Right, this area is just in front of my little polytunnel. I've got 3 big compost bays over here. There's a little polytunnel, and then just down the side here, covered in rubbish mostly, there's a 3-foot path that goes all the way down the side and between the 2 polytunnels down to the back of the plot. But it's this area here I'm interested in. Up until recently, which is why the path is obliterated now, this area, all of it, was just full of stuff where it become a dumping ground, and it was even difficult to get a barrow to the compost area. So all of it's been cleared out, including the compost area. That's all going to be dismantled, and I've measured it, and starting at the path here and moving off to the left, there'll be another 4-foot bed, then a 2-foot path, then another 4-foot bed, which will leave approximately 2 foot over by the fence. And it just so happens that those beds are exactly the same length as my no-dig beds, so that will be 2 new no-dig beds. But this will be a dedicated area. I will grow potatoes in pots directly on these no-dig beds, and with something more permanent in place to help support the plants as they grow. So I am playing with the idea at the minute. I haven't fully settled on the idea, but it will become dual purpose, because at the end of the day potatoes are only in the ground for, at the most really, sort of 4 months ish, so there's still 8 months of the year to go. So it's got to be dual purpose, it's got to be able to be used for something else. And here's a view of the same area from just inside the small polytunnel. You can just see the path over there to the left. See, it's a big sizable area, and you don't really realise until you actually get a tape measure out and measure it. And over there's the sweet corn. It's the first of the no dig beds going down the hill, so I think it's going to be a good addition. I've always highlighted this area. I always wanted to have a nursery bed here, so I think that's going to play into the equation as well, along with having somewhere to grow the potatoes as a dedicated area. So all these ideas and things, and a few more that I've got, have all got to play into actually using this area. So at the minute it's a mess, but in a couple of weeks it'll all be cleared out and ready. So that is 6 new no dig beds, and number 7 is going to be going down here where I've got these outdoor tomatoes and the flowers this year. Now I've always wanted to have a cold frame here, and no dig bed number 7 will be a cold frame that will go on there, and it'll be exactly the same size, if I spin you around slowly, as these 2 sweet corn protection things I've got up at the minute. So each cold frame will be 8 foot long, so that means that I can move stuff around. It will be a no dig bed, and once the cold frames are on there, there'll be about 1.5 foot, 2 foot in front of it, where I can plant a nice little flower border like this, or grow a few little veggies, some salad stuffs or whatever. But the idea is to make everything sort of multi-use, so those cold frames, although they'll be there majority of the time, if I ever need to, I can move them, pick them up, move them onto one of the other beds somewhere. It's flexibility, and that's what I want. Now at the minute you can see the little bath. That's on top of a tin path that runs all the way down off into the distance there, and here that we're looking at has become a bit of a dumping ground because this needs a change of use here. At the minute I've got soft fruit bushes in, they're all to come out, the ground is to be dug over, and I'm aiming to put a polytunnel here. Can't put it up yet because there's a danger from above. These trees are really severely overgrowing. I mean, in some places they're stretching nearly 10-12 foot over, right over where the polytunnel will be. So if a limb falls off in a winter wind, it's going right through the tunnel. There are plans in place. The plot owner next to me is my mate Andy. Yo Andy. And we've got a tree surgeon on site. So between the 3 of us, we're going to clear and fell all this, which will let more light into his plot as well, and clear the way for me to get a polytunnel up here. And I'm really hoping that I can get that up this winter. At least get the frame up and then cover it in the warm weather of spring. That would be ideal. So that's the plan with this area. And a bit of a mini harvest picked between the rain showers. I think it's about to rain again. So I hope it gives you a bit of an idea of the plans for the winter. Huge works to do, and if anything is unlikely to get done, it will be the polytunnel, but hopefully at least the frame will be up, and hopefully get the cover up at the first part of the warm spring. If that happens, I'll be quite delighted. It means we've got the other stuff done as well, so we'll be well on our way. So that's it for today. So please look after yourselves, take care, and I'll see you soon. Cheers now, ta-ra.